Well, I think you framed it exactly correctly. What did Trump supporters think they were voting for by voting for Donald Trump? And think of that in terms of the bill that just passed the House this week. That they literally named that piece of legislation the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. It's about 8:30 Sunday morning West Coast time. I'm in the city. I'm coming in to do some fun stuff today. But as I was driving in, I was listening to the Pod Save America guys, and relative to the Medicaid, the Medicare cuts, the SNAP benefit cuts in this bill, one of the guys mentioned that there was an organization who did some nationwide polling in every single congressional district, polling the issue of significant, extreme, severe cuts to Medicaid and Medicare, and do you support those kinds of cuts or do you not support those kinds of cuts? And supporting the kinds of Medicare and Medicaid and SNAP benefit cuts that are in this bill did not poll higher than 15% in any congressional district in the United States. The vast, vast, vast majority of people who voted for Donald Trump have absolutely no idea what's in this bill other than what they're hearing from right-wing media. And from watching MAGA TikTok posts over the last couple of days, they are being fed the line that this bill is the biggest, it contains the biggest middle class tax cut in history. And that's the exact opposite of what's actually in this bill. I'm seeing all these TikToks from MAGA chuds that are like, last Thursday, every single Democrat voted against the biggest middle class tax cut in history. When the reality is that this bill, if it becomes law, would be the largest wealth transfer from the bottom 90% to the top 1% in this country's history. They got almost $2 trillion in cuts in this bill. And those consist entirely of cuts to Medicare, Medicaid, and SNAP benefits. Those cuts total almost $2 trillion. Trump voters don't even know that. And that post is about, where that comment is, it's about today being the 5-year anniversary of the murder of George Floyd and our racial backsliding in this country. And it's like, yeah, Donald Trump's a racist, but I think he's kind of an atypical racist in that his racism and bigotry are outweighed by his greed. And I think that Donald Trump views race and racism as tools that he can use relative to his base and relative to the left, to keep his base like ginned up on this kind of stuff, while he and his billionaire friends are absolutely just looting the entire country. His supporters aren't paying any attention to that stuff. They're just happy that there's no more DEI and that they can be racist out loud in public on social media and in Starbucks now. That's enough for them, because of their grievance, and they're the real victims, and yada, yada, yada. He's just using Trump is just using race and racism to distract his own supporters away from what he and the billionaire class are actually doing. And they wouldn't be able to exploit those kinds of things in the American population if those things didn't exist in the American population. And last summer, before Kamala Harris got into the race, my main kind of focus or impression of this past election was class struggle, was class warfare. And, I've learned a lot from a lot of creators on this app, and I obviously learned a lot from living through the last 100 days of the election cycle last year when Kamala Harris did get into the race. Like, yeah, class struggle, class warfare is a huge thing, but in so many ways it's driven by racism and misogyny. And it's like, and that's been true of this country for 400 years, man. It's been true for 400 years. And so I think that's a good question, but thinking about it in terms of, well, what did Trump supporters actually say they voted for? And it's like, you see all of these Trump supporters who are like, I voted for the economy, I voted for inflation, and I voted for immigration. And the economy and inflation, they could give two shits about now that Trump's in office. They make TikToks and videos saying, I don't give a shit about the economy. They didn't care about the economy. They were voting on racism and misogyny and bigotry and transphobia. I mean, the masks came down real quick, real fucking quick after Inauguration Day. I mean, before Election Day, it was just post after post after post after post from MAGA about inflation, about egg prices, about gas prices. Trump gets in office, they're like, yeah, all that stuff's more expensive. We don't care. We just get to be racist now. That's what we voted for. We voted for that. But like I said, I mean, it's like, Trump is using race and racism to distract his own supporters because he knows that works with them. He knows how effective that is with them, while he is stealing every fucking dime he can from his own supporters. And they're fine with it, I guess. They're fine with it. It's really, I mean, they will burn this country to the ground with themselves in it, rather than give up their privilege, or rather than even contemplate existing in a world where they don't get to be racist and black people get to exist in the United States without being in a state of fear and having equality and a level playing field. They will burn this country to the ground with themselves in it.